Back on January 11th, I had a dream that showed a bunch of scenes about how people who had received the syringe gravy, that they all became in phases, that they became zombies, and that a war started, and then the zombies became fully manifested. But I had another one on January 30th. I had another dream, and it showed more detail about this transformation. It's with three scenes in this dream from last night. And in the first scene, there's a person who just is a normal person, and then suddenly he clenches up, his face starts to deform and distort, and he brings his hands up toward his face, and his fingers are curling and crimping and crunching, and the guy you can see that he's suffering, and he's fighting to regain control of his physical properties, but in the interim, he's also growling, and it sounds like the closest thing is like a mountain lion, like one of the big cats. And he's growling and rarring, and then he regains control of himself. And then the scene switches, and I see the same thing happen to a woman, and then to another guy. And I understand, like, these people are struggling to fight against something. It happens again, and it comes back to maybe it's the first guy again, or maybe it's someone else. But this time, this persona takes over the whole person, and he starts to behave like a very aggressive zombie, right? And then it goes on for some time, and then he breaks himself out of it, and he gets free. It's like a fit, like an epileptic seizure or something is overcoming these people. They're fighting it, and they're able to maintain some measure of control. But as the scenes go on, these fits last longer and longer and longer until eventually a person gets taken over, and I don't see them recover at any point at all. So this is very different than anything I've seen anybody else report, that it happens in phases and that they can kind of fight against it. And then the narrator comes in and he says, and he explains to me, he says, the mark of the beast, listen to this, the mark of the beast will be presented as the solution to the damage caused by the syringe gravy. I think you all know what I mean. The transition happens in phases, and that people seem to overcome. Like, it seems like they're able to resist the transformation the way someone might try to resist an epileptic seizure, or just try to resist an outbreak of anger or something, right? You feel it come up, and you're like, nah, I'm not having that today, right? And you let it stay down, right? Or resisting the urge to vomit or something. Like, they somehow resist it. I've never heard any of that anywhere else before. The part I have heard before is that the mark of the beast would be presented as something that would cure the vaxequences. That's the end of the first scene, is the explanation. I see the people get transferred in phases, then there's the explanation, but I'm going to add this in right here, that I prayed about this, show what exactly does this mean, and the Holy Spirit showed me a little vision while I was praying. When you seal an envelope, right, you close the flap, and then I saw burning red candle wax. So what I saw was the lip of the envelope closed, and then someone poured hot red wax onto that. And then I saw the seal come in and press into the red wax and pull away and leave the seal. And this is what the Holy Spirit explained to me. The syringe gravy is like the red wax, and the mark of the beast is like the seal. And so when something's sealed, like that's it, it's done. That's what the Holy Spirit showed me, that the two things go together. That is consistent with what I've understood for some time and what I've heard other people say, that the graphene oxide and the crystal lipid bases, things that they're building inside the body, and what the Holy Spirit has showed me is that these things are going to become basically like a motherboard. Maybe that's only an analogy, but something like a motherboard, a computer-based system. And just, again, analogously from my own words, like when the mark comes in, it'll be like the software that's going to run the whole thing, right? So you have to have the gravy inside, and it comes from more than just jabs. It comes from food, personal care products. I've been warning about that for 30 years, even though I didn't know it was going to be the stuff that we're seeing now. Somewhere in all of these dreams, I don't know, I've forgotten where it was attached, but somehow Kuala Lumpur came up in these dreams. I don't remember exactly, but you can see it's like halfway between India over here. See the blue dot here? Capital of Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. and then Australia down here. So it's like halfway between Australia and India. But also, again, as in the previous stream from January 11th, a war had broken out, and then this zombie transformation thing started to happen. Again, that's all part of scene 1. So now, going back to scene 2 of the January 30th dream, I see myself, I'm walking down out of basically looks like the mountains. There's like a sparse forest there, green pine trees. There's a single road going down, but I'm not walking on the road for some reason. And I arrived to a asphalt space, like a lot, and there's a little booth there, and this is a gas station somehow, although there were no cars being gassed up and I didn't see any pumps. But there's like a little building there where the attendant sits, and it has 2 windows. On one side, on the right side, is a man with light colored hair, a white shirt, very crisp. This guy's looking sharp. But on the other side, there's like a little wall on the other side of this little kiosk building. It's just stacked with all of these rolls of plans, like architectural plans. But they're of different sizes, but also they're all blank paper. I don't see any ink, so maybe they've been rolled up with the business side inside, right? So you could only see the backs of the papers, the blank sides. And inside all these rolls were stuffed these wads of cash, like tightly rolled. And I pull a couple of them out and I look at them like, yeah, this is like solid greenbacks. Like this is U.S. currency just rolled up here. Like this is thousands of dollars, each one of these bundles. And so I talk to the attendant and I say, hey, all this stuff is just sitting here. Like, shouldn't you be like over there watching that? And he's like, reading something, a paper or a magazine or a gazette, something, and he just shrugs. He says something that basically means, I forgot the exact words he spoke, but he said something like, I'm not going to do anything about that. And then I look over on the far side of the road, and coming down the mountain are these 2 people fully zombied out, and they are running. This is no television serial, shambling kind of foot dragging deal. These guys are running fast. And I'm like, ooh, I got to get out of here. So I run off, but they don't come after me. And I see some others come from off of the left. And out of this little kiosk where all these plants had been, 2 people walk out. The zombies attack them and kill them. Later, I come back and I tell the attendant, I said, didn't you see they killed an accountant and an architect and you did nothing? And again, he basically says something very brief, casual to him, like, I'm not gonna do anything about that. And the attendant represents God. He's gonna let all this stuff go on. Like I don't know why, but he's like, that stuff's gonna go on. And the reason it was represented as a gas station is like God is where you go to get recharged, right? But he's saying like all this other stuff, he's not gonna do anything about it. That was the end of the second scene. Third scene comes up. There's a student. And zombies are going around killing people. I don't know if they're calling them zombies, but these crazy people, these people who've been transformed into mindless killers, they're going around killing people. And everybody's being told, like, stay inside, don't go out. So this one professor has this nice home kind of outside the city, and he invites the students to come up there. So a lot of the students go, and he also has an indoor pool. So a lot of the students are at the pool and swimming. And then the narrator voice comes over. This is always an angel. That these people who are infected, they crave to spread what they have. Like that's a driving force behind them. They want to infect other people. And so places they love are places that are crowded with a lot of people, and especially places where people are scantily clad. So like a beach or a sauna or a pool. Like they like that. And the dream was explained to me like this is something that they like. So these zombies, like their goal isn't to eat brains. Their goal is to spread. Those were the 3 scenes of the dream. So the big part of this whole thing is that the vaccines are one thing, but they play right together. It's an important component of the jab. I mean, imagine if you had a signet ring and you were going to try and seal something with no wax. You just push it down on there. You'd have nothing, right? But remember, these ingredients, I call them the nanobits, right? It's nanotech that's inside this stuff, and it self-assembles inside your body, attaches to your nerve. That's in several videos I've posted before. If you haven't seen those, YouTube is giving me strikes for some of those, and they're gone. But they're still up on BitChute, and I have the same channel there, No Jesus, No Peace. So this is the man from Modesto reminding you as always to pray or be defeated.